The stars beyond Neptune looked cold and distant, but Captain Ji-hoon knew they were anything but empty. 7 massive alien warships floated in the darkness, each one larger than a city. They had been there for 100 years, making sure that no human ship ever left the solar system. Ji-hoon stood on the bridge of the Taeguki, Earth's first real warship built for deep space. The ship hummed with power beneath his feet. Behind him, his crew worked quietly at their stations. They all knew what was coming. They had trained for this moment their entire lives. "Distance to the blockade?" Ji-hoon asked. Lieutenant Yuna checked her screen. 2 million kilometers and closing, Captain. "They've detected us." Ji-hoon nodded. He expected that. The alien ships had technology far beyond what Earth was supposed to have. At least, that's what the aliens believed. Commander Do-yoon stepped closer to Ji-hoon. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the lead ship. It's Admiral Thex-Ron of the Velkari fleet." "Put it on screen," Ji-hoon said. The main display flickered to life. The alien that appeared looked like flowing energy contained in a vaguely humanoid shape. Colors swirled within its form, shifting from blue to purple to green. This was Admiral Thex-Ron, commander of the blockade that had imprisoned humanity for a century. "Unknown vessel," the alien's voice echoed through the bridge, translated by their systems. "You are in violation of Coalition Quarantine Zone 774. Turn back immediately or you will be destroyed." Ji-hoon kept his face calm. "Admiral Thex-Ron, this is Captain Ji-hoon of the Earth vessel Taegukji. We are here to inform you that Earth no longer recognizes the quarantine. We demand our rightful place in galactic society." The alien's form rippled with what might have been amusement. "Demand? You primitive creatures dare to demand anything? Your species was judged violent and unworthy. You will turn back, or we will turn you into dust." "We will not turn back," Ji-hoon said firmly. "Earth is ready to take its place among the stars. With respect or without it, we are moving forward." Admiral Thex-Ron's form blazed brighter with anger. "Very well. Let this be a lesson to any other foolish species that challenges Coalition authority." The transmission ended. Yuna looked up from her weapons console. "Captain, the nearest dreadnought is powering up its main weapon. It's a plasma lance. Our intelligence says it can destroy an entire fleet." "Shields?" Ji-hoon asked. "Ready, sir," Yuna replied. Her hands moved across her controls with practiced ease. "The gravitational shields are online and stable." Do-yoon frowned. 1 ship against 7. "Are we really going to do this?" Ji-hoon smiled slightly. "They think we're primitive. They think they know everything about us. Let's show them how wrong they are." The alien dreadnought finished charging its weapon. The massive ship rotated slowly, pointing its forward section directly at the Taeguki. Along its length, ports opened, and energy began to gather. The plasma lance glowed brighter and brighter, building to a devastating release. "Here it comes," Yuna said quietly. The alien weapon fired. A beam of superheated plasma, bright as a small sun, lanced across the void. It crossed the distance in seconds, moving at nearly the speed of light. The beam struck the Taeguki dead center. The bridge lights flickered, the ship vibrated, but it held. "Shields are holding at 87%, Yuna reported, her voice steady despite the shock on her face. "The gravitational field is dispersing the plasma. It's working exactly as designed." On the alien flagship, Admiral Thex-Ron stared at his displays in disbelief. The human ship should have been vaporized. Instead, it floated there, completely intact. "Impossible," he whispered. "No species develops gravitational shielding this quickly. How did they?" Ji-hoon's voice cut through the Admiral's thoughts as Earth's transmission reached the alien fleet. "Your turn is over, Admiral. Now it's ours." "Yuna," Ji-hoon said calmly. "Fire railguns. Full spread. Target the ship that just shot at us." "Yes, sir." Yuna's fingers danced across her controls. Firing now. The Taeguki's hull opened in dozens of places. Railguns, humanity's answer to energy weapons, emerged and aimed. Magnetic coils charged in microseconds. Then they fired. Tungsten slugs, each one weighing several tons, accelerated down the rails at impossible speeds. They left the ship traveling at 90% the speed of light. The kinetic energy in each projectile was enormous, equivalent to nuclear weapons. The alien dreadnought's shields activated instantly, just as they were designed to do. Energy barriers, perfect for deflecting plasma and lasers, spread across the hull. The Coalition had used these shields for 300 years. They had never failed. The tungsten slugs hit the shields and went right through them. The aliens had never faced kinetic weapons moving this fast. Their shields were designed for energy, not solid matter traveling at relativistic speeds. The physics were simple. Even the strongest energy field couldn't stop that much mass moving that fast. The slugs tore through the alien ship like paper. Armor that could withstand plasma beams crumpled and shattered. The dreadnought's shields collapsed entirely, overloaded by impacts they weren't designed to handle. Secondary explosions bloomed along the massive vessel's length as systems failed and reactors went critical. In 30 seconds, a ship that took 5 years to build became a floating wreck. Target neutralized, Una reported. The dreadnought is dead in space. Life support appears intact, but weapons and engines are completely destroyed. Ji-hoon nodded. Good. We're not here to kill. We're here to prove a point. Across the galaxy, automated beacons caught the signals from the battle and transmitted them through faster-than-light communication networks. On 1,000 worlds, beings of 100 different species watched in shock as a human ship did the impossible. On the Ithrani homeworld, High Counselor Vrenna watched the battle data with growing concern. Her telepathic mind reached out to her advisors. How is this possible? Humans were supposed to be barely capable of fusion drives. They've been in quarantine for a century, one advisor responded mentally. Alone, isolated. We thought that would slow their development. Instead, another advisor added, it forced them to innovate. On the Thornax war moon, General Krax slammed his massive clawed hand against the strategy table. The Velkari underestimated them. I told the Council that humans were dangerous. Back at Neptune's orbit, Admiral Thexron's form flickered with rage and something else, fear. He had never lost a ship in combat. He had never faced an enemy that could penetrate Coalition shields. But now, staring at the wreckage of his dreadnought and the intact human vessel, he had to accept a terrible truth. Everything the Coalition believed about power and superiority had just been challenged by one small ship from a quarantined world. All ships, the Admiral commanded, full power to weapons. We fire together. I want that human vessel reduced to atoms. 6 dreadnoughts began charging their weapons simultaneously. Enough firepower to crack a moon gathered and aimed at the lone human ship. Ji-hoon watched the displays as every alien vessel targeted his ship. He took a deep breath. Well, he said to his crew, I think we got their attention. The alien fleet fired as one. 6 beams of plasma converged on the Taegukji from different angles. The combined power could have destroyed a small planet. The bridge shook violently as the shields fought to disperse the incredible energy. Alarms blared across every station. Shields at 40%. Una called out, her voice tight with stress. They're holding, but another hit like that will break them. Ji-hoon gripped the armrests of his command chair. Evasive maneuvers. Pattern Delta 7. The helmsman's hands flew across his controls. The Taegukgi suddenly spun and dove, moving in ways that should have been impossible for a ship its size. The crew felt the G-forces despite the dampeners working at full power. Commander Doyoon watched the alien ships on his tactical display. They're tracking us. But slowly. Their targeting systems can't keep up with our movements, because they rely on computers to pilot, Ji-hoon said. We use humans. Our pilots have something their automated systems don't: instinct. The alien ships fired again, but this time the Taegukgi was already moving. Plasma beams crossed empty space where the human ship had been moments before. The helmsman grunted with effort as he pushed the ship through another sharp turn, feeling the vessel respond to his commands like an extension of his own body. Ensign Minho looked up from his tactical station. Captain, I've been analyzing their firing patterns. They're linked together through a central command network. When one ship fires, the others adjust their aim based on its data. Can we use that? Ji-hoon asked. Minho's young face showed concentration. Yes, sir. If we can fool one ship's sensors, we fool them all for a few seconds. Long enough for us to strike. Do it, Ji-hoon ordered. Minho's fingers worked quickly. The Taeguki released a cluster of small drones. Each one broadcast false sensor signatures, making it look like the human ship was in multiple places at once. The alien network tried to process the conflicting data, and for 3 precious seconds, their targeting solutions failed. Now, Yuna, Ji-hoon commanded. The railguns fired again. This time they targeted multiple ships. Tungsten slugs crossed the void at relativistic speeds. The aliens had adjusted their shields to try to stop kinetic weapons, but the physics worked against them. The slugs carried too much energy. 2 more dreadnoughts took devastating hits, their weapons arrays exploding in chains of destruction. Admiral Thexron's form blazed with frustration. How are they doing this? We outnumber them 6-1. We have superior firepower. His tactical officer's voice was uncertain. Admiral, the humans are not fighting like any species we've encountered. They're not following standard engagement protocols. Their movements are chaotic, unpredictable. All ships, spread formation, the Admiral commanded. We surround them and fire from all directions. They cannot dodge everything. The alien dreadnoughts began to move, forming a sphere around the human vessel. It was a good strategy. No matter which way the Taeguki ran, it would face weapons fire. The aliens powered up their weapons again, preparing for a coordinated strike. Ji-hoon studied the tactical display. They think they have us trapped, Do-yoon frowned. Don't they? Only if we think in 2 dimensions, Ji-hoon replied. Yuna, target the ship directly above us. Full power. I want it completely disabled. Sir, Yuna said, her hands already moving. That will drain our weapons reserves to 50%. Do it anyway. The Taeguki's railguns aligned upward. Every gun on the ship fired simultaneously. The concentrated barrage struck the dreadnought above them with overwhelming force. The alien ship's shields didn't just collapse, they shattered. Explosions rippled across the hull. The massive vessel went dark, floating dead in space. Now, Ji-hoon said calmly, take us straight up through the gap. The helmsman grinned and pushed the throttle forward. The Taeguki shot upward, passing through the space where the disabled dreadnought had been. The alien formation broke apart, trying to reorient on the fast-moving human ship. But Ji-hoon wasn't done. Do-yoon, take helm control. Do-yoon looked surprised but moved to the auxiliary pilot station. Sir, I need you to show them what a human pilot can really do. Do-yoon's hands touched the controls and he felt the ship respond. He had been one of Earth's best fighter pilots before joining the Taeguki. Now he had a chance to fly again, even if the ship was much larger. With pleasure, Captain. What happened next would be studied in military academies for generations. Do-yoon flew the Taeguki like it was a fighter craft. He dove and rolled, spun and accelerated, pushed the ship through maneuvers that made the crew's stomachs lurch. The alien dreadnoughts, massive and powerful but slow, tried to track the dancing human vessel and failed. Every time they fired, the Taeguki was somewhere else. Every time they thought they had a targeting solution, Do-yoon changed direction. And while the aliens focused on trying to hit the human ship, Yuna methodically disabled them one by one. Railgun slugs struck engines, destroying propulsion. They hit weapon mounts, neutralizing offensive capabilities. They targeted shield generators, leaving the alien ships vulnerable, but Yuna never struck life support or crew sections. The message was clear. Earth didn't want to kill. Earth wanted to prove a point. Hours passed. The battle that should have ended in minutes stretched on. One by one, the alien dreadnoughts fell silent, drifting in space with their crews alive, but their ships powerless. Finally, only Admiral Thexron's flagship remained operational. The alien commander stared at his screens in disbelief. His entire fleet, the force that had contained humanity for a century, had been defeated by a single ship. Admiral, his communications officer said quietly, The humans are hailing us. Put them on, Thexron said, his voice hollow. Captain Ji-hoon appeared on the screen. His uniform was neat, his expression calm. He looked like a man who had just completed routine work, not won an impossible battle. Admiral Thexron, you have two choices. You can power down your weapons and engines like the rest of your fleet, or we can disable them for you. Either way, the blockade is over. This is impossible, Thexron whispered. You should not have this technology. You should not be able to fight like this. You locked us in our own solar system for 100 years, Ji-hoon replied. You thought isolation would make us weak. Instead, it made us focused. We had nothing to do but innovate and prepare. We studied every piece of alien technology we could find. We built and tested and improved, and we never forgot that one day we would leave our system, with your permission or without it. The Coalition will never accept this, the Admiral said. Even if you defeated my fleet, there are thousands of ships in the galaxy. They will come for you. Ji-hoon nodded. Let them come. But first, let them watch what happened here. Let them see what humans can do when we're pushed into a corner. Maybe then, they'll realize that making us enemies was a mistake. What do you want? Thexron asked. What we've always wanted: recognition, respect, the right to explore and grow and live among the stars. We don't want to rule the galaxy. We just want to be part of it. The Admiral's form flickered with conflict. Everything he believed about the Coalition's superiority had been shattered. But he was also a military commander. And he understood what he was seeing. The humans weren't trying to conquer. They were trying to survive and thrive. There was a difference. I will power down my ship, Thexron said finally. But know this, Captain Ji-hoon. What happens next is not in my control. The Coalition Council will decide Earth's fate. Then we'll talk to the Council, Ji-hoon said. Face to face. The transmission ended. Thexron gave the order, and his flagship's weapons went dark. The blockade that had imprisoned humanity for a century was broken. On the Taegukji's bridge, the crew remained silent for a moment. Then someone cheered. The sound spread through the entire ship. They had done it. Against impossible odds, they had won. But Ji-hoon didn't celebrate. He looked at the tactical display showing the disabled alien fleet and knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy had noticed Earth now. The question was what they would do about it. News of the battle at Neptune traveled across the galaxy at faster-than-light speeds. Within hours, every major world in the Coalition knew that 7 Valkyrie dreadnoughts had been defeated by a single human ship. The reaction was immediate and widespread. On the Ithrani homeworld, High Counselor Vrenna gathered her advisors in the Great Chamber. Unlike most species, the Ithrani communicated primarily through telepathy. Their thoughts flowed between minds, like water between pools. But today, those thoughts were troubled. The humans have advanced beyond our predictions. Vrenna's thoughts rippled outward to the assembled council. We must determine if they pose a threat to galactic stability. An elder counselor's mind voice was sharp with concern. They destroyed our most powerful fleet with ease. Of course they're a threat. They disabled the fleet, another corrected. They killed no one. They could have destroyed every ship and chose not to. That shows restraint. Vrenna's mental presence expanded, commanding attention. We need more information. Send probes to study their ships. And prepare a delegation. If the humans want to talk, we will listen. But we will also prepare for war. Across the galaxy on the Thornax war moon, the reaction was more direct. General Krax stood before a massive war map, showing the positions of Coalition fleets. His species resembled enormous insects, with armored exoskeletons and multiple limbs. They had been the galaxy's warriors for centuries. The Valkyrie failed because they underestimated the enemy. Krax's voice clicked and buzzed. We will not make that mistake. Mobilize the 3rd, 7th, and 9th battle fleets. If the humans want war, we will give them a war they cannot win. His second-in-command hesitated. General, the Council has not authorized military action. The Council will authorize it, Krax replied. They always do. And by the time they make their decision, we will already be in position. Meanwhile, Admiral Thexron sat alone in his disabled flagship, reviewing the battle recordings over and over. His pride had been wounded. But more than that, his understanding of the galaxy had been shaken. The Valkyrie had believed themselves superior for so long that they had forgotten to question that belief. He composed a report to the Valkyrie Admiralty. In it, he detailed everything that had happened. The human shields that dispersed plasma, the railguns that ignored energy barriers, the piloting skills that outmatched automated systems, the tactical decisions that turned disadvantage into victory. At the end of his report, he added a personal note. We have encountered not just a new species, but a new way of thinking about war. The humans do not fight like us. They do not think like us. And that makes them more dangerous than any enemy we have faced before. But it might also make them valuable allies. We must proceed carefully. On Earth, in the underground command center beneath Geneva, humanity's leaders gathered to discuss what came next. The Taeguki's victory had bought them time, but everyone knew the real challenge was just beginning. Ambassador Hana stood before the assembly. She was young for such an important position, but she had been trained for this moment her entire life. Captain Ji-hoon reports that the coalition has sent us coordinates for a meeting. Station Kepler, 442. B. A neutral trading outpost. They want to negotiate. An old general frowned. It could be a trap. It probably is a trap. Hana agreed. But it's also an opportunity. We've proven we can fight. Now we need to prove we can think. What do they want? Someone asked. Control, Hana said simply. They'll offer us limited expansion rights, maybe access to some trade routes. In exchange, they'll want heavy tribute and military restrictions. They'll try to make us a junior member of their coalition, permanently subordinate to the founding species. And what do we want? The old general asked. Equality, Hana replied. Nothing more, nothing less. We want the same rights as any other species. We want to explore, to trade, to grow. We want respect. They'll never agree to that, someone said. Hana smiled slightly. Then we'll have to convince them. Back on the Taeguki, preparations were underway. The ship's crew worked around the clock to repair damage from the battle and restock weapons. Dr. So-young, the chief science officer, supervised the reactor maintenance personally. How's our power supply? Do-yoon asked, checking on her work. So-young wiped sweat from her forehead. The singularity is stable, but we pushed it hard during the battle. I recommend we don't engage in combat for at least 48 hours. We might not have 48 hours, Do-yoon said. Intelligence reports show coalition fleets moving toward our position. Then those fleets better move slowly, So-young replied. Because if this reactor goes critical, we'll all have bigger problems than the coalition. In the crew quarters, Ensign Minho sat with several other junior officers, analyzing battle data. They had won the fight. But Minho's tactical mind saw patterns that worried him. The aliens fought stupidly, he said. They didn't adapt. They just kept using the same strategies even when they weren't working. Isn't that good for us? Another ensign asked. Only if they keep fighting stupidly, Minho replied. But the coalition has survived for 300 years. They didn't do that by being stupid. Which means they're learning. The next battle won't be this easy. Lieutenant Yuna overheard the conversation as she passed by. You're right to be concerned, she told them. The coalition has resources we can't match. They have thousands of ships. We have won. We won today because of surprise, and because they didn't take us seriously. Next time, they'll be ready. So what do we do? Minho asked. We make sure there is no next time, Yuna said. We win the diplomatic battle, so we don't have to win any more military ones. Days passed. The Taeguki traveled toward the meeting station, moving carefully through space that was now crowded with alien ships. Coalition vessels watched from a distance, tracking the human ship but not engaging. The message was clear. The galaxy was waiting to see what humanity would do next. Captain Ji-hoon spent his time preparing for the negotiations. He studied everything Earth's intelligence services had gathered about coalition politics. He learned the names and positions of important leaders. He memorized cultural protocols and diplomatic customs. But most importantly, he prepared for the moment when diplomacy would fail. "You think they'll attack at the meeting?" Do-yoon asked during one of their planning sessions. "I think they're weighing their options," Ji-hoon replied. "Some want to make peace. Some want to make an example of us. We need to be ready for either outcome." Ambassador Hana arrived on the Taeguki 3 days before they reached the station. She brought with her a team of diplomats and advisors, all carefully chosen for this crucial mission. She met with Ji-hoon in his ready room. "Captain," she said, sitting across from him, "I need you to understand something. What happens at this meeting will determine the future of humanity in space. If we succeed, we open the galaxy to exploration and opportunity. If we fail, we might condemn Earth to isolation forever. Or worse." "No pressure then," Ji-hoon said with a slight smile. Hana didn't smile back. "The coalition believes in hierarchy. They believe some species are naturally superior to others. They've ruled the galaxy based on that belief for centuries. We're asking them to abandon that belief, to accept that a species they considered primitive is actually their equal. That's not just a political challenge. It's a philosophical one. So how do we convince them?" Ji-hoon asked. "We show them that their choice is not between accepting us as equals or keeping us as subordinates," Hana replied. "Their choice is between having us as allies or as enemies. And we make sure they understand which option is better for everyone." The Taeguki continued its journey toward Station Kepler 442b. Behind it, 50 more human ships traveled through space, still weeks away but approaching steadily. Ahead of it, 300 coalition warships gathered around the station, the largest military force assembled in decades. The galaxy held its breath, waiting for the moment when two very different civilizations would sit down to talk. Whether they would find common ground or common enemies remained to be seen. Station Kepler 442b floated in the void between solar systems, a massive wheel of metal and light, where 1,000 species came to trade and meet. But today, the normal bustle of commerce had stopped. The station's docks were filled with warships instead of merchant vessels. Every species in the coalition wanted to witness this meeting between the established order and the upstart humans. Captain Ji-hoon walked through the station's corridors with Ambassador Hana at his side. Behind them came Do-yoon and a small security team. Alien beings of every shape and size watched them pass. Some looked curious, others looked hostile. All of them wondered if these humans were brave or simply foolish. "Nervous?" Do-yoon whispered to Ji-hoon. "Terrified," Ji-hoon admitted. "But don't tell anyone." The meeting chamber was enormous, built to accommodate beings of vastly different sizes. At the far end sat representatives of the 3 ruling species, High Counselor Vrenna of the Ithrani, her form almost transparent in the station's light. General Krax of the Thornax, his massive armored body taking up space meant for 3 ordinary beings, and High Admiral Quex of the Velkari, his energy form contained in a containment suit designed for diplomatic functions. Dozens of other species filled the chamber. Some were coalition members, others were independent observers. All of them fell silent as the humans entered. Ambassador Hana stepped forward. "Honored members of the coalition, thank you for agreeing to meet with us. Earth comes here seeking peace and mutual respect." "Peace?" General Krax's voice buzzed loudly. "After you destroyed a Velkari fleet? Your definition of peace is unusual. Human." "We disabled that fleet," Hana corrected calmly. "We took great care to avoid casualties. Had we wanted to destroy those ships and kill their crews, we could have. We chose not to. That is the peace we seek." High Admiral Quex's energy form flickered. "You speak of choice as if you had power. You defeated one blockade fleet through surprise and unconventional tactics. Do not mistake that victory for true strength. The coalition has thousands of ships. You have one." "Actually," Ji-hoon said, speaking for the first time, We have 51. And more under construction. 4-5. And more under construction. The chamber erupted in noise. Alien voices in 100 languages mixed together in shock and disbelief. High Counselor Vrenna raised a hand, and the telepathic pressure of her command brought silence. Explain, she thought spoke, her voice appearing directly in everyone's minds. Hana gestured, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed the solar system, but also points of light scattered throughout nearby space. While Earth was under quarantine, we didn't stop exploring. We couldn't use fast ships, so we used slow ones. Generation ships. They took decades to reach their destinations, but they reached them. 12 colony worlds, all established in secret, in unmapped regions of space. Impossible, High Admiral Quex said. Our surveys would have found them. Your surveys looked for advanced technology signatures, Ji-hoon replied. Our colonies were deliberately low-tech at first. They grew slowly, staying under your detection thresholds. And they've been building ships for 20 years. The Teguki was just the first to reach Coalition space. General Krax leaned forward, his mandibles clicking. You're lying. This is a bluff to make us think you're stronger than you are. Perhaps, Hana said, or perhaps you should ask yourself why we would come here alone if we were truly desperate. Why would we risk everything on one meeting if we didn't have options? High Counselor Vrenna's telepathic presence filled the room. Let us speak plainly. You have demonstrated unexpected capability. You have shown some strength, but you are still one species against an alliance of 47. What do you truly want from us? Recognition as equals, Hana said simply. Full membership in the coalition with the same rights as any founding species. No tribute, no restrictions, no special rules just for humans. The chamber exploded again. Voices shouted in outrage and disbelief. General Krax stood, his huge form dominating the space. Absurd. You are newcomers, untested, unproven. You think defeating one fleet earns you equality with species who have ruled the galaxy for centuries? No, Hana said quietly, waiting for silence. We think defeating one fleet proves we cannot be dismissed or controlled. But there's something else you should know before you reject our request. She pressed a control, and the holographic display changed. It showed documents, communications, encrypted files. While your blockade kept watch on our solar system, we kept watch on you. We intercepted your transmissions, we decoded your communications, and we learned some very interesting things. High Admiral Quex's form blazed brighter. What are you implying? I'm not implying anything, Hana said. I'm stating facts. The quarantine wasn't about protecting the galaxy from human violence. It was about resources. Earth is rich in heavy elements that are rare elsewhere. The coalition intended to maintain the quarantine until humanity died out naturally, which your projections said would happen within 500 years. Then you would claim our system and mine it clean. The silence in the chamber was absolute. That's a lie! General Krax roared. Is it? Hana's voice remained calm, but her eyes were hard. These are your own documents. Your own plans. Shall I display them for everyone to see? Shall I show all these independent observers what the coalition really thinks of species it considers inferior? High Counselor Vrenna's telepathic presence was like ice. You dare threaten us? I dare tell the truth, Hana replied. You speak of rules and order and civilization, but your order is built on oppression. Your civilization exists to benefit the strong at the expense of the weak. You don't want equals. You want servants. And you, she continued, made a terrible mistake when you quarantined us. You thought isolation would weaken us. Instead, you gave us a common enemy. You united a species that had spent thousands of years fighting itself. You gave us a goal, a purpose, a reason to stop our petty wars and work together. You created the very thing you feared most. Ji-hoon stepped forward to stand beside Hana. The coalition has a choice to make. You can accept us as equals, grant us the rights we deserve, and gain allies who will strengthen your civilization. Or you can try to force us into submission, and we will fight you. Not just with the ships you know about, but with every resource our colonies can produce. We will make your lives miserable. We will be the thorn in your side that you can never remove. You cannot win a war against us, High Admiral Quex said, but there was less certainty in his voice now. Probably not, Ji-hoon agreed. But we'll make sure you can't win either. We'll scatter. We'll hide. We'll strike and fade away. You'll never know where we are or when we'll hit next. You'll spend centuries hunting us, while your own civilization tears itself apart from the strain. Is that really what you want? High Counselor Vrenna's thoughts washed over the chamber. You are asking us to abandon principles that have governed the galaxy for 300 years. I'm asking you to examine whether those principles were ever just, Hana replied. I'm asking you to consider that maybe strength shouldn't determine rights. That maybe all species deserve respect and opportunity. General Krax's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of deep thought in his species. And if we refuse? Then we leave this station, Ji-hoon said. We return to our territory, we fortify our worlds, and we wait. The next time you see human ships, it won't be for negotiations. It will be because you forced us to fight for what you should have given freely. The chamber fell silent again. The three ruling species exchanged looks. High Counselor Vrenna's telepathic voice reached out to only her fellow leaders. Private thoughts flowed between them, weighing options and consequences. Finally, Vrenna spoke to everyone. This meeting is adjourned. The Coalition Council will deliberate on what has been said here. You will have your answer within 3 days. 3 days, Hana said. And then, Vrenna replied. We all discover whether the galaxy has room for new equals, or whether it only has room for old hierarchies. Either way, the decision will echo through history. The humans turned and left the chamber. Behind them, alien species began arguing among themselves. Some called for war, others called for peace. But all of them knew that something fundamental had changed. The old order had been challenged, and nothing would ever be quite the same again. 3 days passed like 3 years. The Taeguki remained docked at Station Kepler 442b, while the Coalition Council deliberated. Around the station, 300 warships waited in formation. Their weapons were powered down, but everyone knew they could activate in seconds. On the third day, High Counselor Vrenna requested another meeting. Captain Ji-hoon and Ambassador Hana returned to the chamber, expecting either peace or a declaration of war. What they got was something in between. The Coalition Council has reached a decision. Vrenna's telepathic voice filled the chamber. We offer Earth Junior membership status. You will have limited expansion rights to 3 systems of your choosing. You will pay tribute to the Coalition Treasury. Your military will be restricted to defensive operations only. These terms are generous given your limited position. No, Hana said simply. General Krax's mandibles clicked in anger. You refuse? You dare refuse the will of the council? We dare, Ji-hoon said, standing beside Hana. Because your offer isn't generous. It's an insult. We're not asking for charity. We're demanding equality. High Admiral Quex's energy form blazed bright. You demand nothing. You have no power to demand. You have 1 ship and empty threats. Then test those threats, Ji-hoon said quietly. Attack us. See what happens. Perhaps we will, Quex replied. The 300 Coalition warships around the station suddenly powered up their weapons. Energy readings spiked across every sensor. The message was clear. Accept the terms or die. Lieutenant Yuna's voice came through Ji-hoon's communicator. Captain, they're targeting us. All ships are locked on. Acknowledged, Ji-hoon said calmly. Then he looked at the Coalition leaders. Last chance. Grant us equality, or start a war you'll regret. The only regret, General Krax said, will be yours. He raised 1 massive claw, ready to give the order to fire. Then every alarm in the station started blaring at once. A junior Velkari officer rushed into the chamber, his energy form flickering with panic. High Admiral, Unknown contacts. Multiple FTL signatures detected. The chamber's holographic display activated, showing the space around the station. 50 points of light appeared as ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. 50 human warships, each one similar in design to the Teguki, spread out in a defensive formation around the station. Impossible, High Admiral Quex whispered. They shouldn't be here for another week. We pushed our engines beyond safety limits, Ji-hoon said. Something humans are very good at. Taking risks to protect our own. The coalition fleet was in chaos. Commanders shouted orders, ships tried to reorient to face the new threat, but the human fleet had arrived in perfect position, catching the coalition vessels in a tactical nightmare. Captain Ji-hoon touched his communicator. All ships. Hold position. Weapons ready, but do not fire unless fired upon. A new voice came through the station's communication system. Coalition Fleet. This is Fleet Commander Taeho of Earth Forces. We are not here to attack. We are here to support our diplomatic team, but if you fire on our people, we will respond with everything we have. General Krax looked at the tactical display showing 300 coalition ships facing 51 human vessels. The numbers favored the coalition, but everyone in the chamber remembered what one human ship had done to 7 Velkari dreadnoughts. 50 ships could devastate the coalition fleet, even if they eventually lost. This is madness, Krax growled. You would risk war over principles? We would risk everything for freedom, Hana said. That's what you don't understand. You've been powerful for so long that you forgot what it means to fight for survival. Humans remember. We've never forgotten. High Counselor Vrena's telepathic presence swept through the chamber, and for the first time, there was uncertainty in it. If we fight here, many will die. On both sides. Yes. Ji-hoon agreed. War is always terrible. That's why we're trying to avoid it. But we won't avoid it by accepting slavery. We offer you membership. High Admiral Quex protested. Not slavery. A cage is still a cage even if you call it a home, Hana replied. You want to control our expansion. Control our military. Control our resources through tribute. That's not membership. That's domination with a pleasant name. Vrena turned to her fellow counselors. Private telepathic conversations flowed between the 3 ruling species. The silence stretched on while 2 fleets faced each other in the darkness of space. Both ready to fire. Both hoping they wouldn't have to. Finally, Vrena spoke. What guarantee do we have that if we grant you equality, you won't use that power to threaten others? Your species has a history of violence. Of war. We do, Hana admitted. Every species does. But we also have a history of cooperation. Of building. Of reaching for something better. Judge us by our actions here. We could have destroyed your blockade fleet and killed everyone aboard. We didn't. We could attack your fleet now while you're unprepared. We won't. We want peace, Counselor. But we want it as equals. Not as subordinates. The risk, General Krax said slowly, is considerable. The risk of fighting us is greater, Ji-hoon pointed out. Even if you win here, you lose. Word will spread that the coalition fought a desperate battle against 50 human ships. Other species will see that the coalition can be challenged. Your authority will crack. Your unity will fracture. All because you refused to share power. It was the right argument. The coalition's strength came from the belief that it was invincible. That belief was already damaged by the battle at Neptune. Another costly victory would destroy it completely. High Counselor Vrena closed her eyes. When she opened them, her telepathic voice was resigned but steady. The Coalition Council will meet in emergency session. All ships will power down weapons. No one fires unless fired upon. We will give you our answer within 1 hour. 1 hour, Hana agreed. The coalition leaders left the chamber. The humans returned to the Teguki. Both fleets remained on high alert, weapons powered down but ready to activate instantly. 59 minutes later, the Coalition Council returned. The coalition has existed for 300 years, High Counselor Vrena began. In that time, we have maintained order through strength and hierarchy. We believed this was the only way to prevent chaos. Perhaps we were wrong. Perhaps order can exist with equality." She paused, and the entire station seemed to hold its breath. "Earth and its colonies are granted full membership in the Galactic Coalition, with all rights and privileges of founding members. There will be no tribute, no military restrictions beyond those that apply to all species. You will have representation on the Council. You will have equal voice in galactic affairs." The chamber erupted in noise. Some species cheered, others protested. But the decision had been made. "In exchange," Vrenna continued, "Earth agrees to share select technologies with the Coalition, specifically gravitational shielding and advanced kinetic weapons systems. You also agree to abide by Coalition laws regarding warfare, including prohibitions on weapons of planetary destruction and attacks on civilian populations." "We agree," Ambassador Hanna said. "We never wanted those weapons anyway." General Crack stepped forward. "One more thing. Earth will contribute ships to Coalition defense forces. If we are to be equals, we must defend our civilization together." "Agreed," Captain Jihoon said. "Together we're stronger." High Admiral Quex's energy form had dimmed, but he spoke with dignity. "The Velkari Admiralty offers formal apology for the quarantine. It was wrong. We see that now." "Apology accepted," Hanna said. "Let's build something better together." The Treaty of Seoul was signed that day aboard Station Kepler 442b. Representatives from 47 species witnessed as humanity officially joined the galactic community. Not as subjects, but as equals. 20 years later, Fleet Admiral Jihoon stood on the bridge of a ship very different from the Taegukgi. This vessel was 3 times larger, built with combined human and alien technology. His crew included not just humans but Velkari, Thornax, Ithrani, and a dozen other species, all working together. "Admiral," his communications officer called out. She was Velkari, her energy form flickering with concern. "We're receiving distress calls from the Outer Rim. Unknown, hostile forces. They're attacking Coalition worlds." Jihoon studied the tactical display. "A new threat. Coming from beyond known space. Ships unlike anything the Coalition had encountered before. Sound general alert. Inform the Council. And get me Fleet Commander Teho." "Should I contact only human ships, sir?" the officer asked. "No," Jihoon said. "Contact all ships. Human, Velkari, Thornax, Ithrani, everyone. We face this together." As Coalition fleets began mobilizing, as ships from 50 different species moved to defend their civilization, Jihoon thought back to that day at Neptune. When Earth had been alone and isolated, when the galaxy believed they ruled power through domination, how things had changed. The galaxy had learned that true power came not from controlling others, but from standing together. Not from hierarchy, but from mutual respect. And when the new enemy arrived at Coalition space, expecting to find divided species fighting for dominance, they found instead a united front. Species who had learned to value each other's strengths, who fought not just for their own survival, but for their neighbors' freedom. The invaders had made the same mistake the Coalition once made. They believed strength meant domination. They were about to learn the same painful lesson Earth had taught the galaxy 20 years ago. Some powers cannot be measured in ships or weapons. Some strengths cannot be calculated on tactical displays. The power of unity. The strength of shared purpose. The determination of beings who chose to stand together rather than fall apart. Earth had shattered the galaxy's illusions about power. But in doing so, they had helped build something better. Something stronger. Something worth fighting for. The battle ahead would be hard. But they would face it together, and together they would win.